right on the Shock Doc NFL stream of week 2. What a week we've had. Some surprising games, some really close ones, some come from behind victories. I honestly think it's shaping up to be a great NFL season. We did see, like I said, some really close games throughout this end, some really good comebacks, some unfortunate injuries, and some maybe future looks of what the NFL is going to come. So, starting off, we're going to start with our Thursday night football game. We're going to go with the Washington football team edging out the New York Giants, 30-29. What do you think about this?
That was actually a great game. Surprisingly, it was a great game. You can definitely see that Barkley is not quite up to speed yet in his first game back. I think that had a handle in with it. Biggest surprise is Heineke coming out and playing like he's like almost like a 10-year vet league. Great story about him. As I said, Daniel Jones, as you can see there, lead the top form in rushing. He actually did roll out quite a bit this whole game. As I said, he was kind of running for his life a lot in this game, but overall, great Thursday night game.
Really was the Washington football team taking advantage of the unfortunate penalty, offsides penalty on the Giants to give them a second chance at the game-winning field goal after missing the first one. Going off of what Kel said, Heineke looking like he's looking to fight for a job, and I think he may have solidified maybe a job in Washington football team. And then Daniel Jones having a little bit more mobility, being more of a dual threat quarterback. This could have gone either way. This really could have gone either way, but it was a great week. You don't really see some really good football games out of the Thursday night game, but this was one of the better ones we've seen, and really just an amazing game of two teams that are fighting for position of the NFC East. We've always said before that the NFC East is not very strong, and these two teams are making some statements in them.
I agree completely. Rivalry game, division game. I wonder if we actually might see Daniel Jones actually really step up this year. Actually, watching this game really actually noticed some good stuff about him.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he can carry that through the rest of the season. Heineke, like you said before, having a great game, and and then also Terry, McLaurin. Is that how you say his name? McLaurin, I believe.
Scary Terry.
Scary Terry. That guy is amazing.
Absolutely. And a big remark of the game is Saquon Barkley showing a little bit of great things, but obviously needs to get involved a little bit more. Coming off a big serious injury that ended his season last year very early on, so hopefully we can bounce back. We're gonna jump. Actually, my thing is a little bit different than yours, but we're gonna base it off of just what you see on the computer. We're gonna go to, honestly, probably one of my picks of game of the week, the Tennessee Titans coming back from a 23-9 deficit at halftime to win in overtime 33-30 over the Seattle Seahawks. Derrick Henry coming back to a great game after a very disappointing week 1. Finally getting to look at Julio Jones and what he can do for the Tennessee Titans. Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett obviously showed a lot of great things. Obviously, an amazing duo, a very underrated duo in Seattle since the emergence of DK Metcalf. Overall, as much as it does suck that Seattle lost, what a football game. What a football game to watch.
Titans didn't give up. Plain and simple, They went back in the halftime and they go like, hey, we're not done. We got a whole another second half to play. And I'm pretty sure I said this last week when we were talking about predictions and games next week that Derrick Henry was going to bounce back, and I was right.
A very proud statement he has said since Sunday about it, and will never let it down that he was correct about that.
We don't let things, let down around in this household here, so.
And nope, especially when it proves that I'm wrong. Although I did say that Derrick Henry was going to have a good game. I had no question about it. Not much more you can say about that. I think the biggest thing is can the Titans keep rolling with this going to next week, and can Seattle bounce back? Big question marks on their defense. In my aspect, poor tackling, in my opinion, outside of Bobby Wagner. But
Exactly.
we'll get to that later on. We're gonna go to the next game. We're gonna go to the Bears beating out the Cincinnati Bengals 20-17. Starting quarterback, and we actually said this a lot that Andy Dalton did start the game, but he did unfortunately get hurt. We saw a little bit more of Justin Fields, who got a little bit more action than just one drive, getting a win for the Bears. Do you think this is now the sign that Fields is going to start the rest of the year, or do you think he's still not ready?
I think overall, depending on what Dalton's injury is, I think yes, Fields needs to take over right now. He's showing that he can lead this team. Got the win for his team. Um, Said Dalton, you had great times over there in Cincinnati. Unfortunately, you started to just go downhill a bit. I mean, I know you tried to rejuvenate your career, come to a different team, but it just there's something, yeah, you're just something just not clicking with you anymore. Unfortunately, it's nothing against Dalton. Like I said, Dalton had did some great things over in Cincinnati, but I think yeah, his time as probably a starter is now done. So Fields definitely is going to be the future of this team. By the way, Joe Burrow, he did pretty good too. I actually kind of watched a bit of him as well. Um, Still needs to get some discipline under his belt. What would you say about more about that Cincinnati team?
Well, unfortunately, you had Joe Burrow out for pretty much his whole rookie year very early on last year. So this is still relatively his rookie year in the making. And, people got to remember about Joe Burrow is that he was just a 1 year wonder in college. Though he played all 4 years and such, he really only had one full season under his belt at LSU, winning the national championship. So as you can see, the Cincinnati Bengals did outdo everyone in the Chicago Bears by stats of rushing, passing, and receiving. I I think the Bengals are gonna keep putting up a fight. I think Joe Burrow just needs to learn how to win and to finish out the games and everything like that. And so it could be an interesting watch for Joe Burrow and seeing if he can bounce back. He's had two really close games for a start, going 1-1. He can easily bounce back from this, but it's whether or not he needs to do it himself and everything like that. So I'd say watch out for the Bengals. I'd say watch out for the Bengals. They're going to continue to fight and continue to get these close wins like that.
Would you say this is almost like a Mitch Trubisky kind of situation? Played one good year.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I think there's more faith. I think there's more faith in Joe Burrow than there was in Mitch Trubisky.
Okay. Fair enough. On to the next game. We have the Texans at the Browns. This was actually a good game. First half was actually a really good game. Unfortunately, Taylor ended up getting hurt and had to come out, and which probably would have been the difference in this game. Mayfield actually, I watching the highlights of this game. Mayfield was actually very on point in this game. The ground game for Nick Chubb. Chubb was just running wild. What else did you see in the game?
I would say that though this was a bounce back day for Baker Mayfield and the Browns after losing a heartbreak one to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Browns are going to. Nick Chubb is going to be carrying the offense. I think Baker Mayfield needs to do a little bit more in order for them to fully succeed. He had a great bounce back game from the first game of the year, and he played really solid. I think he just needs to do a little bit more. I think that the Browns are looking to heavily run on Nick Chubb. He has been an amazing back since getting the notch and everything like that for the starting. Shout out to the Texans. I mean, kind of going against what I thought. I thought they were kind of a bottom of the barrel team with the departure of DeAndre Hopkins the year before with a trade, losing JJ Watt and kind of losing the momentum of the program of the organization from what Bill O'Brien did, everything like that. So they're all fighting for something there in Houston. So great win for the Browns. Very upsetting loss for the Texans, but they're going to bounce back, and
Yes.
hopefully Tyrod Taylor can come back from this. It's unfortunate for him. A very good quarterback that's been suffered with the injury bug a lot, if not this whole career. It's kind of what helped. It's kind of what ruined him in the Chargers organization last year. So, um, like I said, I think getting away from this is I think the Browns. I think Baker Mayfield needs to step it up a little bit more. Judd needs to keep doing what he's doing, and hopefully Taylor can come back for the Texans.
Okay. Next game, Rams at the Colts. So pretty much almost like I think the Rams must have watched Field on the Seahawks, what they did against the Colts, because they did the exact same thing like we did. They put a lot of pressure on Wentz, and one thing I just want to throw out there right away is Colts need to get their offensive line figured out. That was their, as I watched the whole thing, that was their biggest weakness on that
Well,
of the night.
it seemed like they were blocking the biggest threat was Aaron Donald.
Eh,
It looked like they
But
were
other
containing
guys,
him. They looked like they were containing, and that's the hard part when you go in a defensive scheme like that is that you're trying to stop a threat like Aaron Donald, but everyone else on the Rams defense, like you said, was getting more pressure and getting to Wentz and everything like that. Who suffered an unfortunate ankle injury. Hopefully he can come back because if you rely on Jacob Eason for your season, good luck with that.
yeah, I mean, like I said, Rams right out of the start, we're good. First half was literally all Rams, even though they only scored 10 points. Colts actually tried to come back in the second half. Colts actually were trying to come back, as you can see by the score, 27-24. They were trying to come back, but it was just too late. They just ran out of time. Good effort though by the Colts. Hopefully, like I said, they can get that line fixed out. They got some other stuff to figure out as well. And Stafford actually was looking pretty good in this game as well. By the way, they need to not also figure out on punt return on punts. Don't have your one guy line up behind the long snapper there, so the ball doesn't ricochet off in in the end zone.
It just happens. It's one of those once in a lifetime kind of events that happen. Shout out to Cooper Cup with the big game for him. 9 receptions at 163 yards and both touchdowns for Matthew Stafford. So Rams are going to continue to look forward and continue winning. I believe. They had a little bit of a scare in this one, but they ultimately held on together for the big win. Go to the next game. We're going to have a bounce back game for the Buffalo Bills, beating their division rival Miami Dolphins 35-0. Unfortunately, Tua out with a hip injury early in the game. Had no chance of bouncing back. What a performance by the Buffalo Bills, offense and defense all around, shutting out the Dolphins and coming up with the big win.
One thing I really noticed about this game, besides the offense, Singletary getting a lot more involved, more touches, had a great game. One thing I actually took away from this game is Buffalo's defense really, really stepped up this game. Lots of pressure, made a lot of great passes, deflections, stops. Unfortunately for Dolphins, like I said, Tua, I feel sorry for the guy having to get hurt. He's a great young guy that's gonna, lead that organization there for hopefully many years. Um, uh, Brisket, I think, was the one who took over for him, right? Jacoby Risk. Um, took over.
Reset.
Brissett took over, and fortunately, he was getting the same treatment that Tua was. He just under pressure the whole time. As one thing we always like to say, this was a ball game
Was a
for the
ball
Bills.
game. It was a ball game. I wouldn't go that far yet. Just an unfortunate one. Nothing more to say on that one. Great win by the Buffalo Bills coming back and from the week one loss. Going into the next half, the matchup of rookie quarterbacks. New England Patriots led by Mac Jones beating the New York Jets 25-6. Storyline of the game, Zach Wilson, 4 interceptions. Kind of a heartbreak for this kid. Kind of a rough start for this kid. But ultimately, to be honest, you kind of saw it coming. I have a very strong belief about teams that tank for quarterbacks, and the New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars are two teams that really tanked for their future quarterbacks, and they really built nothing around them. And New England, led by first ballot Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick, coming out, I believe that there is something good in the making with this Mac Jones pick. Obviously he wasn't going to pick him for a reason. He wouldn't pick him without any reason of he knowing that he's the future of this team, getting the big win, handling their business, coming back from a did they lost the first day? The Patriots did.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. So great bounce back for Mac Jones and the Patriots.
I mean, there's nothing more to say. Yeah, unfortunately, Zach Wilson. I think I saw a stat that said like his last year in college, I think he only threw 5 interceptions, and yeah, he's already thrown 4 in a game. So
yeah, his senior year at BYU, he threw for 3 interceptions all year long. You're talking about 12. You were talking about a 13 games span, and in 2 games, he's already thrown 5. So
all right, but like I said, he was gonna have to face a tough defense sooner or later. Definitely exploited him there. So anyway, Wilson, hopefully can get it figured out there, and that team that's rebuilding. Next game.
We have the San Francisco 49ers edging out the Philadelphia, I almost said 76ers. Philadelphia Eagles, 17-11. The unfortunate side of this game is more running back issues, injuries coming for the Niners. They kind of taken over the role for the Baltimore Ravens for the most injured running back game. It's unfortunate for a team like San Francisco that rely a lot on the run. Hopefully, all those guys can bounce back. Kind of a good game from Jalen Hurts, going 12 for 23, 190 yards. Also have 82 yards carries, 82 yards on the rushing for 1 touchdown. I'm going to give Eagles more props to this because theoretically, when healthy, the Niners are potentially a Super Bowl candidate team. I mean, it was only 2 years ago when they actually were in the Super Bowl and unfortunately lost. This team is, when healthy, is very good. I think a good showing by a very young Philadelphia Eagles team with the rebound of a new head coach, relying on Jalen Hurts and everything like that. So this was a great game. This was a great game. Great win by Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers to hold on to a win. And potentially, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's doing what he can to keep his job. I don't think he's ready to pass the torch just yet.
Yeah, I believe that as well. Great actually defensive game actually overall by both teams. Actually, it wasn't a high scoring game as you can see, but watching the game itself, Bosa, after him suffering season-ending injury last year, coming back, actually getting involved in this game. Like I said, it was a good defensive game. There was actually a lot of good big plays in it, but it was definitely the defenses that were stepping up. But great win by the 49ers, going up 2-0, and yeah, I think Eagles will bounce back from this game here. And as Rhino had said, they're young, they're rebuilding, but I think they actually got the tools, to go pretty far.
I think so too. Going to the next game, we have...
One more sec here. We have 7% here. Put Lance in by week 7 or I'm fucked.
All right. I got you, Zach. I got you. Going to the next game, we have the kind of a surprise game. I thought this was a big surprise. The Las Vegas Raiders coming out on top against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 26-17. The unfortunate side of it is that I believe TJ Watt did suffer an injury in this game. Started off hot with another sack to fumble and everything like that. The Raiders actually look offensively pretty damn good. Derek Carr throwing for 2 touchdowns. Henry Ruggs, 5 receptions for 113 yards, 1 touchdown. The Steelers did a really good job of actually containing Darren Waller, who is the Raiders' #1 threat, so that opened up for Ruggs to have a better game. For the Steelers, Naheem Harris really actually playing solid. He's playing very solid. I think Gruden is I think Gruden's fighting for something. I think he may feel like his job is on the line, doing what he can to keep a job there in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Raiders, I mean, going into Steeler country and coming out with a win, that's a big deal. I think also Derek Carr is trying to prove the doubters wrong as well. I think he's trying to show what he can do as a starting quarterback there for the Raiders. As you had said, Waller wasn't a big factor literally for first 3 quarters. Then he started to get involved some in the fourth quarter. But give it to that Oakland.
Las Vegas.
Oakland. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know other people do it too. I'm sorry. It's habit. But yes, give it to the Raiders. Great victory. And also, this is my stock pick of the week. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now so we don't have to wait. What do you think the Raiders selling this year? You want to elaborate on that? Oh, why wait for an answer? Do you have anything more you'd like to add to this game?
Not a whole lot to be honest. Like I said, big first 2 games for the Las Vegas Raiders, and hopefully they can continue this ride. I think with them being in the AFC East or AFC West, how far do you think they will go? That's a very good question. I think they're fighting to make a playoff spot. I think they're ultimately in their mindset. John Gruden always has his mindset that he wants to win, and I think they want to. I think obviously every team's ceiling is the Super Bowl. I think for them, they want to compete for the AFC West title, knock off the Chiefs. They have had the Chiefs number as of last few years, but it could be a playoff win, making the playoffs. I think it depending on how the organization feels about John Gruden. It could be, hey, you got to get not only to the playoffs but a win in the playoffs and at least a competition for the AFC West. It is going to be hard to beat the Chiefs, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible.
Yeah. I want to get like halfway through the season until I start making some playoff predictions. Personally, I actually want them to make the playoffs. Raiders are just one of those teams that I want them to do good, and get in. So I'm gonna say yes, they make the playoffs, but I haven't decided yes if they win a playoff game or not yet.
Yeah, it goes. We're gonna bounce to the next game, which I'm surprised you didn't pick this as your shock of the week. Carolina Panthers really, really whooping some ass on the New Orleans Saints, 26-7. Great game by Sam Darnold and by Christian McCaffrey, really getting back into motion after last few seasons of being injury riddled, and really the Saints were put in check this week. After the big 5 touchdown performance by Jameis Winston, not a great performance going back. Alvin Kamara only rushing for 5 yards. Very unheard of for a running back of caliber of Alvin Kamara. What's your takeaway on this game?
Well, as you said, you're surprised that this was not my shock pick of the week. It was close, but because it was a blowout, I didn't pick it. But it definitely was surprising that Carolina at home just pretty much routed the Saints. I thought, we'd see that same Saints offense come in, but it was nowhere to be found. I mean, what do you actually have a stats up for that game at all? I don't even know what Winston even did. But yeah, as you said, I know Kamara only got like 5 yards. It just was like, did the team like show up at all? Not until the fourth quarter only.
Jameis Winston went 11 for 22, 111 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 4 times, QBR rating of 21.6. Really, the highest rusher for all of the New Orleans Saints was 19 yards, and that was by Jameis Winston.
So it sounds like the defense was just all on top of him the whole time then.
Exactly. There wasn't really any big name numbers for the Saints. They were really, like I said, to put in the best term, they were put in check.
Yeah.
After the big win against the Green Bay Packers, they were put in reality, and Panthers maybe fighting for that number 2 spot in the NFC South.
Right. I do think Saints will, probably bounce back from this game, but yeah, that hurt them. That really, really hurt them.
Yeah. We're gonna go to the next game. We're gonna go to the Denver Broncos. Kind of a surprise team with the new quarterback behind the helm of Teddy Bridgewater beating Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, Trevor Lawrence has not gotten his first win as a NFL quarterback. Great performance by the Denver Broncos. Bridgewater, 26 for 34, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great performance by him. He's definitely showing why he is still a starting quarterback. He should be looked at as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer not having a great start in their NFL careers. Kind of saw it coming, though. When you tank for the number 1 draft pick and you put heavy on a quarterback just coming out of college, very hit and miss. And I really am not surprised Lawrence is having the year that he is.
Yeah, I'm not either. They still need to figure some stuff out. Obviously, they still need to get on the same page. Definitely, Lawrence did have some good passing there. He also had some good roll up plays where when nobody was open, getting some yards when he could. Shocker, no pun intended. Teddy Bridgewater is doing some good things over there for Denver right now. I'm actually really surprised. I'm watching the highlights of this game. One thing I took away is the offensive line that Bridgewater has was protecting him, giving him time to look around through his options, get the ball. And obviously it worked great because Sutton, with 9 catches for 159 yards, had a great game for them.
So asking you about the Jacksonville Jaguars in just a second. What are your thoughts on methods of tanking for the number 1 pick? Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think that's a bad idea? The problem when you tank for a team like this is you don't build anything around it for said quarterback.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, you can you get that guy, but what are you going to provide for him? Are you going to get somebody else with it to help him out, or do you already have those pieces? Or are you going to grab somebody from the draft? Are you going to trade for? Are you going to get somebody from free agency? I don't know. I almost want to say there hasn't been a good, what's the word, streak, I guess you could say, for tanking for a good quarterback, and then the following year.
There's no bounce back.
Yes, there's no bounce back. So I'm almost wondering if teams need to not really tank actually anymore. I think that method is not a good idea. I mean, yes, you're getting a top quarterback, but as you said, what are you gonna get for him?
We've seen numerous times where the number 1 overall quarterback does not actually have a good NFL career, i.e. Jamarcus Russell. We've looked at there's a whole bunch. David Carr of the Houston Texans. And not just number 1 overall picks, but first round picks. Christian Ponder, Brady Quinn, Johnny Manziel,
Matt Liner,
Vince Young, numerous
Robert Griffin.
I'm gonna backtrack. I'd backtrack you on that one.
Actually, yes. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Yes. Unfortunately, Robert would have had a great career. He would have had a great career.
Yeah.
We'll save that for another time, though. My thoughts aren't about that because they're not very good.
Yeah. So, moving on to the next game, a really good game here. Arizona and Minnesota. Cardinals coming out on top 34-33 off a unfortunate missed field goal by the Vikings at the last second. Kyler Murray having another performance like he has, 29-36, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm going to say this, though. As well as he's playing, he needs to be careful because when he's throwing a lot of touchdowns, but he's turning the ball over a lot. And he's not a whole lot, but the turnovers are hurting him. And they're going to continue to hurt him. I think he still has a lot to prove. He's still a lot to improve on. Great quarterback, and I've heard a lot of people say I take him right now over, Russell Wilson or whoever. Athleticism, yes. When the game is on the line, that's questionable. That's very questionable. Um, Looking at stats, he did throw 2 interceptions, probably big interceptions that could have solidified their win a little bit more. Yes, you got the win, but you got to play at a level to actually make that more consistent. So causing some, throwing some picks and everything like that is ultimately going to hurt him in the end. And it could had the Minnesota kicker actually made it. That's would be the big topic in the sports world would be Kyler Murray turning the ball over way too much.
Yeah, I agree. I said this about him before. He's getting too aggressive. He needs to stop, being so aggressive. It's like once he starts getting his first or second touchdown, then he starts trying to fit the ball into places that he's not, or he starts overthrowing some of his guys, which I believe one of those interceptions was an overthrow, and then the other one he just tried to force in there, and the linebacker actually saw this. The linebacker, excuse me, pick sixed it. So yeah, Kyler, you gotta, you know, see, you can pull it down, dude. You can pull it down. You don't have to force it in there. You can try to run for some yards. You're a great scrambling quarterback. As Rhino said, definitely athletic. You just got to fix this one issue. I know you got great wide receivers and a tight end out there, and also the running backs as well. Make good wideouts as well. But yeah, just fix that, and you're going to be a great solid quarterback going forward.
He needs to fix his mechanics, in my opinion. If you watch a lot of his throws the last few years, especially this year, he's throwing off his back foot. He's leaning and throwing off his back foot. It's more of a prayer throw. And again, you had great moment last year with the Hail Mary catch against the Buffalo Bills. DeAndre Hopkins making the catch, but you're not always going to have that. DeAndre is a wonderful receiver, but what if you don't throw to him and you throw off your back foot and it's to someone else? It becomes more of a you're looking at an interception, especially off your back foot. I think being the last of the NFC West teams right there, all of them had really close games. 3 of them coming on top, 1 unfortunately losing. I think they got to be careful. I think of the NFC West teams, they really got to be careful. People are out for them because they are the best. They are quoted as the best division. A lot of weaknesses were exposed during this week, and I think to me there were really 2 teams that still solidified that they are the top 2 of the division, where the other 2 needs improvement, or else the season is going to be exactly what you see from these games. But we'll talk about that at the end of the segment. We'll bounce to the next game where Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers having a pretty close game at one point.
At one point.
Beating the Atlanta Falcons 48-25. Falcons at one point was making it a ball game, and then the Falcons became the Falcons.
And then pretty much Brady and Gronk became Brady and Gronk. And then they threw Mike Evans in there to, add a little more whipped cream to the topping of the cake there.
Which is funny that if you look at the top performers, Matt Ryan edged out Tom Brady, throwing 35-46, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Brady threw for 5. So, question to you, Kel. Is this the best season Tom Brady's? Is this on mark to be a great season for Tom Brady, one of his best that he's had in his career? Or do you think that they're going to the fire is going to be kind of burnt out soon?
I started seeing reports about this. Is Brady actually in his prime right now than he was when he was younger? And the guy's not slowing down. He's 40 years old? 44.
I think he's 40.
44 I think it is 44, and he's not slowing down. I mean, he's not showing down like any degradation at all. Maybe the arm strength is not there like he used to be, but he's figured it out. He's figured out, hey, I can't I can't do this anymore, but I can do more of this to help my team get the win. He's got, still that brilliant mind that when he's out there on that field of reading the defenses and finding his guys wide open. I think Brady is definitely not slowing down. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him for at least maybe another year or max probably 2 years. I give Brady until he's like, I'm done.
More bold than Brady is. He said he could play for another 5.
Well, I mean, you're still looking at Brady has not been hurt either yet, so well,
Yes.
seriously, like hurt, like season ending kind of stuff. So if that ever does happen, that will probably be the time we probably won't see Brady anymore. But as long as he's healthy and still continues to do this, yeah, he'll still. I think we'll still, like I see him around.
Tom's ever suffered a season-ending injury?
Not that I remember seeing he's won. It had to be early on, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I know he
one time.
I know he got injured for like 4 weeks and he was out one time.
One time he actually, and this actually started the rule of where you hit on a quarterback. He actually suffered an ACL tear. One of his after, I think he was either after his second or third Super Bowl win. He got hurt, and this was the rise of Matt Castle.
Okay, I was trying to remember what season it was that who took over.
But I agree with you. I think Tom is getting better as the years go along, and I think it's because he's understanding his role. He's not a mobile quarterback. He will run if he needs to, but yes, he doesn't have probably the arm strength as he used to have before. But what does he gain from this? Better accuracy. He's a better accurate quarterback than he was back in the day. And really funny remark that you heard on Monday Night Football, Rob Gronkowski, and it does not surprise me one bit ever. He doesn't actually watch film. He just asks Brady who's guarding him, and he goes from there. Really, he's done that for so long and has been considered a top tight end in the NFL history. Just goes to show. Gronk and Brady are just an amazing duo and very gifted athletes.
All right, before we get to our last 3 games of the week, guys, remember to like, subscribe, follow this channel on Twitch as well. Like and subscribe on YouTube, I should say. Leave comments, ask questions. We always want them. Please, please, please do it. Moving on to the next game.
Begging, folks. He's really begging.
Come on. I'm bored. Give me questions.
All right, we're to the next game. A bounce-back game for the Dallas Cowboys, beating the Los Angeles Chargers 20-17. Great bounce-back game for the Cowboys after their unfortunate loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 1. Justin Herbert having a really good performance, 31 for 41, 338 yards, 1 touchdown. Tony Pollard having a really good rushing game for the Cowboys, 13 carries for 109 yards and a score. Great start by the Cowboys, going up 14-3 after the first quarter. Chargers slowly getting it back to the ultimate win for the Cowboys at the very end. I think this is a great game. Very good game between a very young, hungry Chargers team and a Cowboys team looking for redemption after the disappointing year, getting Dak Prescott back, looking to reclaim that NFC East title.
Agreed. Both quarterbacks watching this game looked actually very good. They both look very good. They all actually were pretty much evenly matched teams if you actually were watching the game. Both on both sides of the ball. It was actually a great game. In my opinion, it was a great game overall. It's just unfortunately the Cowboys had to get the win there at the end. But yeah, don't cut out Justin Herbert. He's gonna bounce back from this. The kid he's gonna be a good rising star over there, I think, for the Chargers down the road, especially when he's got Keenan Allen as one of his top wide receivers. So Cowboys, Elliott got a little bit more involved this week, as I saw. Also, what I saw from Dak is he was actually spreading the ball around a lot this week to his receiving core as well, and I think that actually really helped him get this win this week.
Yep, actually a good variety of weaponry on the Dallas Cowboys for the season. Next, we have 2 more games left, the primetime games of the week. We have Sunday Night Football. What a matchup this was. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens coming back to defeat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs 36-35. One of the few games, like I said, we've had some major comebacks in. The Chiefs were winning. Chiefs were leading throughout this game, quite pretty much until the very end, and then Lamar Jackson, reminiscing a little bit of the 2006 national championship Texas versus USC game, where Vince Young did it more with his running game than he did with passing. Lamar Jackson doing the same thing. 2 late touchdowns by Lamar to seal the deal. An unfortunate interception by Patrick Mahomes. And just really the defense flew around for the Ravens, holding them to the very end and getting the win. Thoughts on this game?
This was definitely a game of who was going to have the ball come the end of the fourth quarter, in my opinion. Great game. Both quarterbacks, out there just playing their hearts out. Both, actually, like I said, it was just an overall good game. I just want to say, just overall good game. We did, however, see a bit of the issues like we were talking about with Kyler Murray. You got 2 young mobile quarterbacks out there trying to rush around, throw the ball up, try to make plays. I know Mahomes had one where he threw one that he shouldn't have, or at least try to throw it away. I believe Lamar threw 2, I want to say. Same kind of deal, trying to force a couple in there. But overall, great game.
Yeah. Do you think this is a sign of things to come between the Ravens and the Chiefs? Do you think the Ravens are going to roll from this? Do you think the Chiefs are going to continue to struggle, or do you think this is just a game where they're going to bounce back from and go back to the winning ways?
I think they'll go back to their win ways. Like I said, you got 2 great organizations just going at it, playing out. This is almost like pretty much the Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning matchups. 2 young quarterbacks just battling at it with great offenses and defenses around them. I am always going to expect great games when these 2 match up against each other.
I think one key thing that's going to have to happen for the Chiefs is they're going to have to figure out a win without Tyreek Hill being a factor. Not a factor in this game, 3 for 14 yards, no touchdown. Travis Kelce continuing to show why he is probably the best tight end of the league, going over 109 yards and a score. Like I said, Chiefs are a very heavy weapon team. They have the big 3. Unfortunately, there is the downside where Tyreek will either be involved and they dominate, or he doesn't get involved, they struggle. They need to figure out a way to get him more involved and to have other people step up if it doesn't happen for them.
Also, Travis Kelce's fastest tight end to get to 8,000 yards.
Big shout out to Travis Kelce on that one. We're gonna end it. We're gonna end it right now. The week review with the bounce back Monday Night Football game for Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay Packers beating the Detroit Lions 35-17. Close game. 3-point lead for the Lions going into halftime, to then the Packers looking like the old Packers of old, and Rodgers coming out with a 22 for 27, 255 yards, 4 touchdowns. Big bounce back for him after the piss poor performance of week 1.
Don't sugarcoat it. Don't sugarcoat it.
I will not sugarcoat it. It was piss poor. I could say a lot worse, but I'm going to try to keep it as less swearing as possible. Aaron Jones having a great game. 3 touchdown receptions and 1 rushing touchdown. Zach, I know if you're watching this right now, you are definitely hating the name Aaron Jones right at this point. Devontae Adams going for 8 receptions at 121 yards. What a game for the Packers to bounce back after that performance, showing that it wasn't, it was just a fluke, bad timing, and to think about it too, this is a full week with Aaron Rodgers back. You came back in the very late going into the season, so it could have been chemistry just wasn't there. It looks like chemistry is back. Can they continue? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest thing. As we had pointed out, Rodgers having a terrible game last week, which was very un-Rodgers-like. This game, first half, was a really great game between 2 teams. Very good. Unfortunately, in the second half, Packers just came out and said, you know what? This is our home turf. We're going to come out. we're gonna make the second half ours, and that's what they did by scoring 21 unanswered points. They started Golf unfortunately started making mistakes. I believe he had two fumbles in that game. I think he recovered one of them, and I believe he threw an interception as well. So Lions have got some work to do.
Absolutely. And if you guys remembered from last week, we did do picks of this week. Currently, as it stands right now, Shock Doc is at 10-6, and I am at 9-7. So I was one game off from our picks. What a great week! Like I said, some games that we picked that we didn't see happening, and just some chances that were taken and either worked out for us or it didn't. So normally our next segment would be Shock Doc Pick of the Week. I think it was already said earlier this week. If you want to elaborate more on your pick,
So I picked the Raiders and the Steelers, and the reason I picked that one is because I believe I actually picked Steelers to actually win that game at home. Steelers with a great defense and Ben Roethlisberger in at quarterback and having a good wide receiver core there. I thought they were actually going to put a stop to the momentum that the Raiders were after their big win last week. I thought they were going to shut them down, but no, they didn't. Raiders, like I had said earlier, I think, like you said, Gruden's in a hot seat. He's trying to, try to save his job. Derek Carr's trying to prove himself. You got some really great talent there for the Raiders. And yeah, coming into Steeler country is not easy at all. So that's why I give the Raiders and the Steelers the shock of the game of the week.
Nice. So now we're going to go through next week's schedule, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about upcoming games, do our picks and everything like that. So we're going to start with the Thursday night matchup game. Carolina Panthers going to Houston Texans. Shock, you got the first pick.
This is a tough one. Also it depends on who's going to be the quarterback for Houston. Do we know if Taylor is going to be back?
Nothing said yet.
Well, like I said,
still gotta make your pick. Don't
I know. I'll make my pick. I'm gonna go with Carolina. They're on a roll right now, 2-0 to start the season. So yeah, I'm gonna take Carolina at home. At Houston.
Definitely not at home. They're in Houston.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say Carolina. I think there's just too much weaponry for the Carolina Panthers. Christian McCaffrey looking to have a bounce back season. And I think Sam Darnold is looking to prove himself that he wasn't a bust in the Jets and that he can make a home in Carolina. It's going to be a fight, though. I would say a very close game, but I do have the Panthers coming out on top.
All right. Washington at Buffalo. I'm just gonna say Buffalo. After what they just displayed there from their bounce back game, I'm gonna say Buffalo.
I'm gonna take a chance on this one. I'm gonna go say Washington football team only because I think there's a lot of fight with this team. There's a lot of heart with this team. They are a good defensive unit. I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo comes out top and. But I'm gonna give the pick to the football team, which is awkward because you could say the football team and they're both football teams. So the next matchup we have the Chicago Bears going to Cleveland.
This is tough. If Justin Fields probably plays, I think it's gonna make a difference. But I like what Cleveland's been doing. I think Cleveland's actually got all the right pieces. Cleveland actually playing their second straight home game, I believe. I believe their last game was a home last week. Like I said, if I knew Fields was going to be starting, I actually would probably pick Chicago, but I'm going to go with Cleveland at home.
I do too. No matter who starts a quarterback for the Chicago Bears, they are still learning a little bit on the offensive side. Cleveland is just a little bit too much to handle. And give me the Browns over the Bears.
Next, we have Baltimore at Detroit. Baltimore.
Yep, I'm gonna agree. I agree with that. Baltimore coming off the big win, like we said before, over the Kansas City Chiefs. Gonna carry that momentum. Lamar Jackson is gonna have a hell of a day in Detroit. Give me the Ravens over the Lions. Next game, we have the Titans versus the Indianapolis Colts.
I'm gonna say Tennessee at home. Derrick Henry got moving there against the Seattle in week 2. I think they build off of that. Give me the Tennessee Titans at home.
I can't agree more with that. It's once King Henry gets going, he is a man, he is a hard beast to stop. Tennessee does get the win over the struggling Indianapolis Colts.
All right. Next we have Los Angeles at Kansas City.
Should say Los Angeles Chargers at Kansas City.
I'm sorry, I should be. I know. Los Angeles Chargers at Kansas City.
Come on now. Come on now. You know Los Angeles teams have like 60.
Oh, I know. Then they're just going to become much the sports town or something like that.
They really are. 2 basketball teams, 2 football teams, baseball teams, soccer teams. Surprisingly, they only have 1 hockey team. Surprisingly, they have a hockey team.
That'll probably get changed, in the future. So.
Yeah,
Anyway, Casey, hard to beat at home. Got to go with them, hand down. That's an easy pick to take.
Agreed. Going with the Kansas City Chiefs. Bounce back game for Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes coming out on top. Next, we have the New Orleans Saints versus the New England Patriots.
So I'm actually going to pick New Orleans for this game. I think New Orleans comes in to New England, pulls off the upset.
I don't think it's much of an upset if you really think about it. I think New Orleans is probably the heavier favorite team, but give me the Patriots. I think that they're going to continue to play really well. I think that Belichick is a very smart man, knows how to counteract it and everything like that. I'm going to take a chance on the Patriots beating the Saints.
All right, next we got Atlanta and New York.
Giants.
Yeah, I guess I gotta be more careful now.
Or you could say New York.
Because people might just be listening. No, you got a point. People might just be listening to this, not paying attention to what's on the screen. So
yeah.
So yes, Atlanta Falcons at the New York Giants. I want to pick Atlanta, but it's kind of holding me back. Because, like I said, Daniel Jones is, I think, figuring things out. You got Sterling Shepard having a good game. Barkley back. Yeah, I got to go with the home team. Giants over the Atlanta.
Very tough matchup. I am going to take the big risk here and pick the Falcons over the Giants. I think both teams are a bit of struggle teams. I do see the Giants having the better game, but I think Matt Ryan is going to do what he can to get that win. Give me the Falcons to go over the Giants and probably a 3-point victory. It's not going to be.
Next, we have Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. I got to go Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, better team, better defense is gonna really control Joe Burrow and everything like that. Naheem Harris is gonna continue to roll. Pittsburgh.
Arizona at Jacksonville. Like we have been mentioning, Jason Myers has got to figure out Urban Myers. God damn.
Jason.
Yeah. That's why. Urban Myers has got to, still figure out what's going on there. But Arizona, the way they've been rolling lately, I see them coming into Jacksonville and getting the win there.
Yeah, big question is going to be, is Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence going to get their first win? The first win will come out this week. Arizona on top. And we'll take their frustrations that they may have had against the Vikings out on the Jaguars. Next, we have the Jets versus the Broncos. I'm going to say it right now, Broncos.
Yeah, you got to go with the Broncos, especially the way, like I had mentioned earlier, Teddy Bridgewater playing really good football, having a good offensive line. Broncos.
Next, we have the Miami Dolphins coming to Sin City, going to Vegas, playing the Raiders.
Uh, I mean, this is another thing. Like, is Tua gonna be in or out? I'm gonna stick with the Raiders. The Raiders are on a hot streak right now, pulling off two great wins. Raiders at home.
I agree. Raiders are looking really good right now. Playing for something. Give me the Raiders. Next, probably what has some considered a preview of this upcoming Super Bowl this year. The Los Angeles Rams hosting defending Super Bowl champs Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You got Tampa, yeah. You got two really good teams coming in, but I'm gonna have to go with Tampa Bay and that high-powered offense beating the Rams.
It almost sounded like you said Tampa Bay, like Tom.
Tampa.
It almost sounded like you said
Tampa.
Tampa though, like you were putting
Tampa Bay.
Tom's name in
Tampa
there.
Bay.
It's like you're putting Tom's name in there.
Who knows? They might rename it after him when he retires.
Yeah, as much as it's a big struggle on this game. Rams have a great defense with the upcoming Matt Stafford. Tampa Bay looks phenomenal, though. Looks like they haven't missed a beat since the Super Bowl win. Buccaneers over Rams.
All right, this next game, Seattle and Minnesota. I kind of gotta be real about this. I'm not feeling good against us going against Minnesota after watching what they just did in their game this week. I'm actually gonna give it to Minnesota.
Oh. I'm going to stick with Seattle only because Kirk Cousins is not looking exceptionally well this year. He has had his struggle games. Dalvin Cook with an injury going to bother him if he plays. Not sure if he is or not. Seattle will have a bounce back. I think they're going to utilize a little bit more of Chris Carson and Tyler Lockett. Biggest factor, I believe, that we didn't really see in the first few games, that he's really got to come out having a great game. DK Metcalf. I think this is the game for DK of the year. Get his year going. Give me Seattle over Minnesota in a close matchup.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but that's the way I'm feeling right now.
Love for Seattle is going.
Hey.
All right, we have another great matchup on Sunday Night Football. We have the Packers and the Niners.
Man, this one's actually tough. Obviously San Francisco dealing with their running back woes right now. Defense is starting to come on. But man, if Aaron Rodgers plays like what he did this last week, I'm gonna take Green Bay over San Francisco.
It's another matchup that is very hard to pick and everything like that. My gut feeling is saying Green Bay. My heart really wants to go for the Niners. Got to flip a coin for it.
Yep.
I am going to say the Niners edge it out. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have a game of his life, solidify himself as a starter for as of right now. I do see them edging out the Packers in this matchup. Going to Monday Night Football, we have a big-time rivalry game. Eagles and the Cowboys.
Oh, man, another really great matchup on Monday Night Football. Got Philly coming in. I'm actually gonna go with Philly over Dallas in this one. I think Jalen Hurts is actually gonna have a breakout game this game.
I'm gonna go against you. I'm gonna pick the Cowboys to come out top on this one. I think again, too many weapons. Philly is still finding their rhythm, and they're going to put up a great matchup. Probably win the second matchup of the year against each other. But give me the Cowboys in Arlington, Texas on Monday Night Football.
All right. So that's all we have for that. If you guys let us know, guys, if you agree with any of our predictions that either of us have made, or if you disagree, let us know. Love to hear it. Break, or do you want to get in the next set? That's what I'm asking. All right, let's go for it.
Why you deny the people?
I don't.
Why do you want to deny the people? They're ready for this. They're ready for the Ronald Buckets of Champions. For those of you tuning in for this segment here, this is the Ronald Buckets of Champions, where I pick my top performers of the of the week ones who really stood out in these matchups. Normally, I will have a just one offensive player, one defensive player. I am going to turn it up a little bit, and it's going to be a tie for first for the offensive players, and I'm going to pick one player for defense. I'm going to start with the defensive player. This may have just been, um, this could have just been, as some people have thought, just a easy pick because I'm a Seattle fan. I got to give defense. I got to give the defensive champion to Bobby Wagner. Great game for him this week. Really, one of the only reasons why Seattle was maintaining and trying their best to stay in the game. The only one who was actually making tackles for the Seattle Seahawks. Unfortunate, they had to come up with a loss, but I do have to give Bobby Wagner the champion mark with the unfortunate loss, but still playing at a high level, keeping his team in the game. For the offense, like I said, it's going to be a first time, but there is a tie for first between two players who had balled out this week on the ground, doing what they can to get their teams the win. That is Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Both of them had to reach down deep, continue the style that they're known for, come out on top. Both of them had played two top contending teams for Super Bowls, and were down in both of them, having very rough starts to come back on top to win the game. Derrick Henry looking like King Henry of last year and last few years with his rushing titles. Lamar Jackson looking like the former MVP self that he was from a few years back. Like I said, I have to give the notch to both of them based on the fact that they themselves were the reason why their team won. Yes, field goals aside, yes, defense plays, but it was their performances that were making it so that their team won. So Ronald Bucket's champions of the week: Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and Bobby Wagner.
Great picks. Hard to argue with those statements and those stats about all the three players. I mean, if we could probably, have like a three-way tie to give out some championship for them, we would, but can't. We don't have can't afford that.
Yeah, this is all just out of free time. We don't get paid.
We don't get paid at all. All right. Anything else we'd like to add?
No.
We wrap it up.
No, I think, like I said, very enjoyable NFL season we've had so far. Though it is only going into our week 3, we've had some really good matchups, really close games. We've had some big time showing of some really good teams. Conferences are looking really good. Not one-sided of which one's the best, which one's the worst. No clear, obviously, candidates is only week 2. No clear candidates of who's going to be MVP. Thank the Lord. I think we don't need to talk about that anytime soon. Anyone's game.
Actually, there's one thing I just remembered I wanted to ask you about. Do you think we are... obviously, I think we are. But how long do you think the future of the mobile quarterback will be around?
Long time. The game of football has changed more so for quarterbacks and passing, that they need to be more mobile.
So you're saying pretty much like the Tom Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers that are still around that are pocket players are just gonna die out?
Nope. I don't think they're gonna die out. I don't think you're gonna die out of the pocket passers. You're not gonna see you're gonna see an increase of mobile quarterbacks, but you're gonna have those pocket passers. Quarterback position, the quarterback style is gonna stay multiple and different styles for years to come, just because you're never gonna have everyone be a mobile quarterback. You're gonna see more of them, but you're never gonna see the end of the pocket passer, kind of the true pocket passing quarterback. There are a lot of positions that are dying. There are a lot of styles that are dying. I think when it comes to quarterbacks, they're going to continue to have the different styles. That's based on the I thought I was speaking English.
Olé.
But
Americano.
but yeah, I think the quarterback position is still going to stay as universal as possible. Just because everyone is not going to revert to those styles, because there are going to be more strong on quarterbacks that don't have the mobility that you need on your team.
All right. Fair enough. I was just curious to know your thoughts about that.
Yep.
All right. Does anybody... We'll take a minute here. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Yes, we do speak English.
Apparently we need to know that we are English, even though it says U.S. in the title, so I thought that would be a dead giveaway of where this is coming from.
Not necessarily. I mean,
I know.
U.S. is so broad of
right.
the culture, so we could be speaking different.
That's true. But yeah, anybody have any questions for us before we sign off? Or
Kelly's nose is fine. I didn't hit him that hard.
I may have a black eye, though.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Exactly. I'm giving some people time.
Like I said, if you guys have any questions for us, please leave comments in the stream or in the YouTube comments, and we can talk about them next week. We also have a college football podcast that we do. If you guys want us to talk about any other sports, we are coming up on baseball season. We can talk about that. More than welcome to talk about any of those sports. But depending on sport, it might be a while before you see a stream of it, because you might give us something that we need to do some research. We're knowledgeable on the basic ones, but we're not knowledgeable on everything. So
exactly. Well, I mean, I cannot say the Mariners just beat the A's right now, so that's a good thing.
But unfortunately, if you look at the playoff run, Toronto won, New York won, and Boston won. So
anyway, guys, we probably might be doing a baseball playoffs down the road. So we've talked about it. Anyway, looks like nobody has anything for us, so we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys all very much for coming. Even if you were just sitting there listening, not understanding what's going on, or even participating, appreciate it. As always, follow this channel as we will do this twice a week for both NFL and college. And we also upload this on YouTube as well. So make sure you like, subscribe, and also give us comments. That's all I have.
As we end every stream,